There are moments in life that split you into two people, the person you were before, and the person you become after. For me, that moment came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Standing outside a hospital room, listening to my husband tell his dying father that he had a work trip he simply couldn't miss. My name is Anna. I was 34 years old, married for 9 years to a man named Daniel, a man I once believed was the kindest person I'd ever met. We had built a quiet, comfortable life together, a small house with a garden, Sunday dinners with his parents. The kind of life you don't question, because questioning it feels like betraying it. Daniel's father Robert had been sick for almost a year. Cancer, slow, cruel, and unforgiving. Every week I watched a strong, proud man shrink into something fragile. And every week I watched Daniel find new reasons not to visit. "I'll go next weekend," he'd say. "Work is crazy right now." I believed him. That was my mistake, believing that busy hands meant an unwilling heart, not an absent one. Then came the call. The doctor's voice. Calm but final. "It's time. If the family wants to say goodbye, it should be soon." I remember gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles went white. I called Daniel immediately. I expected panic, tears, a man dropping everything to run to his father's side. Instead, I heard him sigh. "Anna, I have that conference in Denver. I already booked the flight." I stood in our kitchen, staring at a photo of Robert holding baby Daniel, and I felt something inside me go very, very quiet. Not sad, not yet. Just still, like the calm before a storm you don't yet know is coming. "Your father is dying," I said slowly. "And you're worried about a conference?" "He's been dying for a year," Daniel said, like it was nothing. "I can't put my whole life on hold every time there's bad news." I didn't argue. I simply hung up, packed an overnight bag, and drove to the hospital alone. But what I didn't know that day was how far Daniel's absence and his reasons for it would go, or how much it would change me. I sat beside Robert's bed that night, holding his frail hand, listening to the soft, uneven rhythm of his breathing. He looked at me with tired eyes and asked the question I'd been dreading. "Where's my son?" I couldn't tell him the truth that his only child had chosen a business trip over his final hours. So I lied. "He's on his way, Robert. Traffic. You know how it is." Robert smiled weakly and closed his eyes. I don't know if he believed me. I think, somewhere deep down, he already knew. Daniel didn't come, not that night, not the next morning. Robert passed away just before sunrise, with only a nurse and me by his side. When I called Daniel to tell him, his voice cracked, but not with grief. With guilt. A guilt he tried to bury the second the call ended. He flew back 2 days later, dressed in a wrinkled suit, talking about how devastated he was, how much he loved his father, how unfair life could be. I watched him perform sadness like a man reading lines from a script, and something in me shifted. I stopped seeing my husband. I started seeing a stranger wearing his face. At the funeral, Daniel stood at the front, accepting condolences, playing the role of the grieving son perfectly. Relatives praised him. He was such a devoted son, they whispered. It's so sad he didn't make it in time. I said nothing. I simply watched. That night, going through Robert's old phone to help settle his affairs, I found something that broke whatever was left of my trust. Messages between Daniel and a coworker named Claire. The work conference wasn't a conference at all. It was a weekend getaway. Hotel bookings. An anniversary of something, an affair that had been going on for over a year. The man who claimed he couldn't leave urgent work behind had abandoned his dying father to be with another woman. I sat on the floor of Robert's study, phone in hand, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel sadness. I felt clarity. A cold, sharp clarity that told me exactly what I needed to do next. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry in front of him and give him the satisfaction of comforting me. I was going to make sure the truth came out for Robert, who deserved better, and for myself, who deserved the truth. I didn't confront Daniel right away. Instead, I gathered everything: screenshots, hotel receipts, flight records, quietly, patiently, like building a case rather than nursing a wound. I reached out to Claire's husband, a quiet, gentle man named Marcus, who had no idea his wife had been lying to him for over a year either. Then I did something Daniel never expected. At the family gathering to read Robert's will, surrounded by relatives who had spent weeks praising Daniel's devotion, I stood up and calmly placed printed messages on the table. "Before we continue," I said, my voice steady, "I think everyone should know where Daniel really was the day his father died." The room went silent. Daniel's face drained of color. His mother's hands trembled as she read the messages. Marcus, who had been invited as a family friend, simply nodded. He had already suspected, and now he had confirmation. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need dramatics. The truth, laid bare on a table, was louder than any accusation I could have shouted. Daniel tried to explain, to twist the story, to call it a misunderstanding. But lies don't survive well under bright light. His mother, devastated but resolute, told him quietly that his father would be ashamed. That was the moment I saw him truly break, not from my exposure, but from the judgment of the one parent he had left. We divorced within 6 months. Daniel lost more than just our marriage. He lost the respect of the family that once adored him. The image he had spent years building, and most painfully, any chance to make peace with the father he had failed. As for me, I grieved Robert as if he had been my own father, because in many ways, he had been. I kept a photo of him on my nightstand, not as a reminder of pain, but as a reminder of the man Daniel could have been, if he had only chosen love over convenience, presence over excuses. I learned something important through all of this. The truth doesn't need to be shouted to be powerful. Sometimes, it simply needs to be shown, quietly and clearly, to the people who deserve to see it. Betrayal breaks something in you, but it can also build something stronger, a version of yourself that no longer settles for lies dressed up as love. And in the end, that version of me was the one who finally found peace.